Okay, so today we're going to be talking about understanding how your child learns, and specifically some stuff with STEM. Because, Kristen, this is your area.
Just a little
So,
bit.
do you have your master's in engineering?
No, so I have two bachelors. One bachelor is in chemistry and one bachelor is in chemical engineering.
Wow. Okay, I don't know about the other parents who are going to be joining us, but I know for me, where I dabbled in STEM and then kind of made my way out of it, it's so intimidating to talk about this type of thing with your kid, and just even in general, thinking about math or science can be intimidating. So,
Right.
I mean, just we're jumping in. I just wanted to ask you really quickly, is there a way that parents can frame even the conversation around STEM to a way where they may not feel that pressure?
Yeah, I think the real benefit is that kids are so curious. So even before they can speak, they start touching and exploring the world. And really, science, technology, engineering, and math, STEM, is really breaking down how the world works. So when your kid asks, why do we have to cut the lawn? How do things grow? You can talk, there's so many opportunities throughout the day to engage them in the conversation about science, about math. There's so many ways.
Wow.
So how did, I guess, let me take a step back. How did that love and interest get sparked in you when you were a child? I don't know if your parents were role models, because that's one of the big issues I've been reading a lot about, especially in STEM, is that for Black and Hispanic Latino kids, they are underrepresented in STEM careers. And when you look at their school trajectory, what you find is that very often these kids are not tracked and they don't have access to the kind of courses that would put them on a path or allow for them to explore this curiosity, perhaps in any area in STEM. So would love to hear kind of how it all started for you.
Yeah, so very young, precocious child asking my mother too many questions too early in the morning. And she would either say, go ask your dad or go look it up. So thankfully, my dad has a love for learning new things. And so I was able to kind of get pointed in the right direction for a
Mm.
lot of my questions. But outside of that, I used to learn a lot by our encyclopedias in the house or by watching NASA TV, watching the NASA channel. It's in addition to the resources at school where I was able to, like, we had a program where we could volunteer to be science lab helpers. And
Wow.
I loved it. So we would come before school, we would feed the animals in the science lab, help set up for the experiments for the day, or water the plants. And it really just made it hands-on and made it more engaging rather than just what I could read.
Yeah.
So from there, once I got into, I really wanted to be an astronomer. So I did a lot of like going outside, like I didn't know what I was looking at, but I was like, oh, look at all the galaxies and the stars. So just, I think they fed into my interest and like said, yeah, go learn some more. Let's get more books from the library. We did a lot of reading from the library. I just go in the nonfiction section and learn about spaghettification. That was my favorite word. And I'm going to explain it. Everyone should look it up. But it's when you reach the event horizon of a black hole, it's the stretching that happens that a star, or if a human made it to a black hole, that's
Oh my.
called spaghettification. That's one that stood out to me as a child. And there's
Because
just,
you turn into spaghetti.
yeah, you just get infinitely stretched before the rest of your body makes it over. Supposedly, if a human were to make it that far.
Right, right, right.
Yeah. So the library, looking it up myself, talking with people. And after I wanted to be an astronomer, I really was able to meet with people in my community who worked with engineers, and they encouraged me to pursue chemical engineering instead of astronomy because it offers such a broader array of job options.
Mm.
So by being a chemical engineer, I can work for a chemical plant. I've worked for NASA. I've worked for Johnson and Johnson, worked on medical devices and contact lenses. It just has a wide array of options when you're an engineer, or really STEM in general. It gives you many options, and STEM is one of the fastest, highest paid career areas of career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard you say so much stuff, and I'm coming to it with the lens of, okay, I'm a parent, and I'm trying to help my kid get into it. You said that your mom would not necessarily shut down your questions. Either she would defer you to your dad or send you to the library, or you would look up the encyclopedias. So parents kind of taking their kids' questions seriously, whether that means answering it then or going to research with them or sending them to other resources. I heard that you had mentors who were able to kind of guide you when you were taking this childhood love for looking outside and maybe I'm going to be an astronomer, and them showing you, oh, okay, this is the right way for a job market. More of a living your dream based in reality of money. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also heard you say that there's science in everyday things like mowing the lawn.
Oh yeah.
Um, my mom always would say, Lauren, let's bake. Look, when you put the baking soda into this, it bubbles up.
It's
Are there,
chemistry.
right?
You're
And
a chemist.
when you say it like that, it's like, oh, I don't need a degree in this. I can just kind of do it around my house. Is there stuff that you do with your daughter or that you could like tell other parents that they can do at home that is more of that easygoing, curiosity based science?
Right. So I think a lot of it is building it into your day and allowing for when questions come up, you can help explain or guide them in the right direction. With my daughter, she's 14 months. So right now it's really about learning about the world through touch, through taste, through seeing what happens when I let go of my ball or drop food off of my high chair. She's taking in all of that, even if she doesn't have the scientific terms, she doesn't know how to do a formula. She's still learning about gravity. She's still learning really how the world works.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question. My parents didn't have a background in STEM. And so when I would go ask the questions, one of the challenges was always not having an adult in the household who can help steer and foster that. And at that point, I guess, what tips and advice do you give in how to continue to spark this curiosity when you yourself sometimes as a parent don't have the words, the language, and maybe I can say might feel a little intimidated by it all, by all the constellations and the stars. And so, what tips would you give to a parent who has an elementary, a middle, even a high schooler who's just got that early curiosity or even the dream, uh, fully taking on this career path?
Yeah, so first you follow Goodbeat. So you can see our experiments, our science
What's that?
experiments there and get some ideas. But in addition to um, following Goodbeat, you can find resources online often that have activities geared towards children. You can, it takes an intentionality of being the parent and helping guide them. Well, let me give you an example. It can be as simple as watching a science show together. So just sitting down and using your screen time well to really engage and ask questions and find out new activities that you can do together, whether that's on YouTube, whether that's watching a science show on Netflix.
Mm.
in addition to um, just what you see in social media. And then you also should look to your resources around you. So there are many science camps, engineering camps, and things that your city will offer or your school will offer. A lot of times they have programs that you can get your child involved. One of the national organizations is National Society for Black Engineers Junior, so they call it NSBE Junior. And so you can look up and see if there's a chapter in your area and what organized activities and projects they do. Robotics competitions and math competitions, and just it really takes an intentionality to be aware, to know, to look for those resources to help your child.
I love that. I think, what I really heard from you was just you tuning in and listening to and fostering and cultivating these interests that your child has. Um, one of the things I would add to all the great things you shared was sharing it with your school too, because teachers have so much ability in their class to show kids how science works in every aspect. So when we think, because we think of areas as very subject areas, where we're going to learn math, you put away your English book. All these things are interrelated. When you're doing math, you need English too,
Right.
and vice versa.
Yeah.
So, really sharing with your teachers too, especially now as kids are going back to school, what their love is. And then the second piece is finding programs at schools as well that are geared for teens, especially in the middle high school age.
Right.
There are quite a bit of different early options that expose the kids to different areas, especially areas that I think, just being a person a mixed race, black, brown, what you often lack are role models. Like the people around you often aren't engineers, and all it takes is to be able to see and get to know someone, to begin to imagine and see yourself growing up wanting to be like them.
Yeah.
Right.
I think another barrier could be that math gets a bad rap. You know, everyone, math is so hard. Even in TV shows, in movies, it's presented as this like mountaintop that's hard to reach. And I really loved what you said earlier, Kristen, kind of helping parents not just disarm their children when it comes to these STEM subjects, but themselves, and making it more like, okay, let's watch the grass, or let's look outside, or because that's biology. Or, mowing the lawn. What happens? Why do we need to do it so often? Why does the grass grow faster after it rains? And it seems, I know you've been around a 4-year-old recently. Once the questions start coming, they don't stop coming, you know. Um, is there anything that you could say to parents who are maybe struggling with like the patience that it takes to really notice that your child likes this certain subject, and keeps talking about it and keeps bringing it up and wants to go to these things? Do you have any ideas for those parents?
Yeah. So one of the things I love about engineering is that it teaches you acceptance of failure. So you try to build something, you try to make something, and you get it wrong, and you fail, and you have to try it again. So if I'm a parent and I need to learn, or if I'm struggling with the patience, then I would say use that as an opportunity to say, I may not get this right. I may not have all the right answers for my child at this moment, but that's part of the learning process.
Hmm. I like that because it kind of takes a little bit of a research perspective. Like the pressure isn't all on the parent to have all of the answers. It can be more of, you know what, I really don't know. What can we do to find out together? Or, you know, can you lead us on this quest? Can you take me to the library and you follow? You lead and I'll follow. It kind
Yeah.
of puts real science on the table for them because not everything is known.
Right.
And I love the fact that you said, just doing the research together online because we have the world in front of us with YouTube videos and
Mhm.
with so much accessibility that kids can actually now watch programs and learn about science.
Mhm.
And it's the world, it's the future world we're going to live in. We currently live in today, and the artificial intelligence world, it's all rooted in that. So when we'll be wearing kind of bands over our eyes, talking to robots, you definitely will have a grasp, some sense of science needed that's going into that. So,
Mhm.
No, yeah, we're definitely going towards that. I think that something I would tell parents, especially when thinking about the optimal learning conditions that you want your kid to be in, or when you notice things that they're into, is not to let your biases or your experiences with those subjects kind of tint or shade what they're discovering. Because I know, like, me and math, we have had our times and we've had our breaks. But for even the tone of voice that I could use when describing math could indicate to my son, oh, you know, this is something that we don't do, or this is something that isn't that great, so let me shy away from it. So really taking a look at, okay, do I feel a certain type of way about art? Do I feel a certain type of way about chemistry or biology or anything that you may have a bias to, kind of neutralizing it. And I think that's something that we have to do in so many aspects of parenting, not just with learning.
oh, I couldn't agree with you more, especially because you unconsciously, right? You have as an adult interest and you project these interests onto your child. And so if you don't have an interest in science, you probably aren't picking the observatory as a place to go hang out on Sundays. And so it takes,
Yes.
your point, Chris, an intentionality to really embrace an interest that your child might have. And it's the time and the patience to foster the love of science. But if it's there, then what better thing to grow it like a plant? I think it was the analogy
Yeah.
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah. Okay, we ran over time, so sorry. But Kristen, if you had to end by saying something that would encourage parents to not just foster what natural talents or inclinations they see their kids going towards with them, but to be proactive and to put STEM in front of their kids more, what would it be?
That's a good question.
Thanks.
I would say really engage their curiosity early on.
Mm.
Continue, show them that you're a continual learner, and they'll likely follow suit.
Hmm.
Mm. Okay, yeah, that was definitely cool. Thank you guys for joining us. Please follow Goodbeat. They have so many great videos that come out very often, every week. And Kristen is on there with Cameron, and they do science experiments and they travel. I'm on there as well. And if you have a story that you would like to send Goodbeat, you'd like to be featured with them, please make sure that after you follow them, you DM them or you leave a comment on their page. Anything else you guys need to add?
Final thought, Lauren. What was if you ask yourself the same question?
I think I I love how Kristen said, you know, to really look at what you have going on and to put it in front of them that way. I want to add that science is a part of our everyday life, in ways that we may not necessarily realize, and challenging parents to see the more everyday parts of it. Like, why is the weather like this? Why is it raining when it's so hot outside? We live in Texas. Um, or why is this plant dying but that one is thriving? What's the difference? And so, really looking around your home environment and seeing if you can just start discussions about science.
Oh, I love the everyday.
Yeah.
Bye.
So, so many opportunities to foster a love for STEM and science, and to align your child to the right opportunities, to the right mentors, to the right resources. So thank you for today's discussion, sharing all your incredible experiences and thoughts. And I'm so excited that you are here as a role model. Both of you have experience with science, backgrounds, families who are in science. And so really breaking the mold for what people think of when they think of science. And people of color have been such amazing contributors to this field that often a showcase highlighted in the same way as other folks. And that's critical for kids, especially kids in communities.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, enjoy the rest of the week. Happy Labor Day weekend. Hope is a lovely one, and I'm super excited to see the rest of the other videos we'll be creating, which are going to be prizes in science.
It's
Wow.
going to be so much, so many
And
interesting
we
things.
learned a word today, but spaghettification, I think it's just getting added to my vocabulary.
Yes, spaghettification.
Yes. Um, thank you guys so much, and I will see you next week. We'll be back with Aida, and we'll have another guest. But talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.